Hi, it's January. And as you know, January can be cold, but there's sometimes where you can have a warm day. And if it's a warm day, then you should take advantage of it and get outside. We've had an awful lot of rain. And so today's the day that it rained this morning. It's not raining now. I'm out here working. But I also want to share with you a couple of really cool things you can do inside as well as outside. So join me for Delmarva Gardens coming up next right here on Pack 14. I know that sometimes January's can be really, really cold, but sometimes when they're not, you get something that's really like an extra present. So here is a fall blooming camellia. Now these started blooming in September. And as you see, there's some that are still in really pretty blossoms. I just think this is amazing. And these will continue to bloom as long as the temperatures stay in the low 40s, maybe a little bit in the upper 30s, like 38 or something like that. But I find that amazing because even though we've had a lot of cold nights, this is still blooming, which is really cool. There's a couple other things that I want to share with you about if you're going to do winter chores. I know sometimes it's so cold you don't want to be outside, so you never know what the weather's going to be, but there's some things you do need to kind of think about. So let's go take a look at some other things. There's other kind of plants that are creative and pretty in the wintertime. This is what they call an Oregon grape holly. And what's nice about this one, like the camellia, it's evergreen in the wintertime, which is kind of nice. But this one, even though it's not a true holly, it has lots of spikes, which are very holly-like. The reason why people plant it is evergreen, which is nice. And these bouquets of flowers right here, these little teeny guys are still in bud, but when they open, they'll be bright yellow. And they're really very, very attractive. I like it because it gives color and interest in the winter. I don't like it because when the leaves shed, and they always do at least once a year, and I have to rake them up, all of these prickly things are very difficult for me to deal with. So it depends on what you like. You know, even in the wintertime, you will often see spring bulbs that come up. So here we have a whole bunch of little teeny daffodils that are just popping up right now. And they're popping up because the weather has been pretty decent in December. But a lot of people will get all upset if they see these daffodils coming up like this and it gets really, really cold. It can get cold, it can actually freeze these back. But these bulbs are used to having that kind of problem. And it's not going to affect the flowers whatsoever. So if you see them, don't worry about them. Let them come up, and if they get frozen just a little bit at the tips, don't worry about them. It's a good idea to get these leaves off right now. Pick a perfect day to be outside, a little exercise, fresh air. Okay, one of the things you have to keep in mind in the fall is you should take the leaves off of the grass so the grass does not die. We had a really rainy, cold fall. Not everybody has had a chance to get their leaves off. If you use a rake, that's one thing. A lot of people use leaf blowers. And when it was heavy with water and those leaves are just basically almost glued to the grass, it didn't work so well. So when you have a nice day, get out there and get a couple leaves off the grass. Well, now there's a lot of cool things you can do gardening indoors, especially when it's cold outside and you're stuck inside. So I'm going to start out with something that I absolutely love, especially right after Christmas, is the Christmas poinsettia. This is absolutely spectacular. This looks as beautiful as it did when I first bought it in the 1st of December. And yet a lot of people go, oh, well, you know, Christmas is done, holidays are done, throw it out. Other people say, well, I want to save it for next year and have it bloom again next year. That's a little bit more problematic, but I'll give you tips on how to take care of it. And if you want to try to go ahead and have it bloom next year, I'll talk about that too. So the first thing is, keep in mind, these guys are from Mexico. They like it hot and they like it dry. So this is the kind of plant that you can go ahead and water just a little bit. And then what I would suggest is give it a small amount of water, and then you want to take it out of the bowl. And you want to actually take it out of this really cool little decorative container so that it can actually drip dry. So what I would do is I take it out of here, put it in the bowl, put a little bit of water in it, and then time it for about 10-15 minutes. And then after 10-15 minutes, take it out, Make sure that this stops dripping. Put it back in here, and it's just fine. You do that only once a week. Now, where does it like to live? Well, the more sun it gets, the better. So this is what I call my sunroom, because this little room, this little hallway faces south. So this is sunny all day long, from early morning until late afternoon, because the sun comes in all the windows we have here. And this little guy is happy as can be here. Now, to get it to bloom next year, is I would have to put this in a room that gets a lot of sun, but that I do not turn lights on after the sun goes down. Now, poinsettias, no matter where they're growing, whether they're growing in Mexico or in your own home, they already know that when the sun goes down in the fall, or the sun actually is lower in the sky in the fall, then their clock, their biological clock is ticking, and it says, oh, it's almost time to go ahead and set flowers. So if I put this in a room, a spare bedroom, that still has lots of sunshine, but I can close the door off during the day and the night. So when I come upstairs and turn the hall light on, the light does not affect it. Then this will actually start to color in September, a little bit into October, and then by December, it will be absolutely gorgeous, just like it is right now. The least little bit of light, even a snap of light, will set it back a whole day. You have to keep that in mind. So if you have a room that car lights shine out, it's not going to color. If you have a room that people come in and turn the light on to see what's there, it's not going to do very good. But if you have a room that you can go ahead and say, okay, I want to have lots of light here, and I want it to be really, really pretty, and you water it, once a week anyways, but you just don't let it get light after the sun goes down. You can turn all the lights on during the daytime, it'll be happy as can be, but not afterwards. A lot of people say, well, I guess I should put it in a closet. I'm like, oh my goodness, you put it in a closet. Are you going to forget to take it out of the closet every morning? I don't think so. So forget the closet, just put it in a room that nobody else plays with during the evening, okay? And then you'll enjoy it. All right, I have a couple other things that I want to share with you. I love plants, but like a lot of people, I have a busy life and I don't always take care of them the way I should. The poinsettia is doing really well, thank goodness, but this one right here is what they call a cast iron plant. And some of the plant leaves look really, really beautiful. And some of them have these nice little brown tips, which is not that gorgeous. Now, why is that happening? Well, to be honest with you, it's because there is not as much humidity as we had in the summertime. So what I'm going to do with these is I'm going to go ahead and just prune it off like that. I've been wanting to do this for a whole month. This one looks really bad, so I'm going to actually just cut this off. There we go. And this one too. There we go. Now you don't have to use pruners for something as thin as this, because just a pair of scissors work really, really well. There we go. And now, even though I can tell that there are some burnt ends, there we go. It doesn't look that bad, and I can say, oh, you're doing fine. There we go. And automatically it looks so much better. Sometimes it's just as easy as getting a pair of scissors out there and doing some trimming. I want to share something else I think is kind of fun with you guys. Come on over here. Now this is a type of snake plant, and it has very round, pointy leaves, making it very problematic to actually have in a room because it's not very well balanced, and I'm always working with that. But this is really cool. Where it is in this room with all the light that it is starting to bloom. Now these guys don't usually bloom a lot, but I've had this for about 5 years, and now it's just starting to bloom. So you can see that the stalk is here, and the little flower petals are just beginning to, they're still tightly closed. So hopefully when they bloom, I can get a picture, maybe share with you guys next month. Maybe it'll be in bloom at that point. But it's fun to see something totally different like that. I'm going to put this down here just so it's not going to fall over on anybody. There we go. Some other things that I have is a little unusual. I teach master gardeners, and one of my master gardeners gave me a root of a ginger plant. So if you look in the pot, you can see here that there is the tube, or as a rhizome actually, and here's where the branches come up. There was a branch there, and here's a branch here. So this is basically leaning toward the light in the window, and in the summertime it would really like to be outside. I think I'll probably go ahead and put it outside this coming summer. But right now it is surviving. The leaves are very soft. But this is an edible ginger plant, which means you would go ahead and take the root, cut part of the root off, and you can cook it for cooking or adding, oh heavens, you could even make it into candied ginger, all kinds of really cool things. So always make sure it's an edible plant if you're going to do it, but it's still kind of fun to have. The other thing that I have, and I do this because I just cannot help myself. I got a bouquet of flowers and they had some apple mint, which when you brush the leaves like that and smell the leaves with your fingers, oh my gosh, it smells so good. So I had one of apple mint, and this was a different type of mint. Now, one of them has roots, as you can see here, and the other one doesn't. So this one actually needs to be thrown out. But I'm, one of these people who just had to wait until the very, very last moment when it kind of gives up its ghost and says, I'm not alive. On the other hand, look at the roots on this baby. You can see all those beautiful roots. So this is one I can go ahead and plant, and I will have a really wonderful apple mint plant. Now remember, mint likes to grow everywhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plant this in a pot and then plant the pot in the ground. That way, I'll actually take the bottom of the pot off so that it can go ahead and grow down. But as long as the pot is wide enough, the mint will not get down and escape. It'll stay where it's supposed to be. But now I have apple mint to go with my spearmint, peppermint, and my chocolate mint. Always fun. The other thing I like to do, and this I did in the late fall, this is one of the plants that you often get in the summertime to make sauce out of. And a friend of mine gave this to me, and I thought, oh, this is really, really pretty. Now, they don't do well in the wintertime. As soon as it gets cold, they just turn black and then turn to black slime and they're gone. But if you take cuttings, you can go ahead and bring them inside. They will eventually get roots. You can see these guys have some little brown roots. And I keep changing the water once a week and washing the glass. So there's still some stuff in there, but still, when I make any type of salsa, or if I have a Mexican dish, I grab a couple of these leaves of cilantro, and then it just adds a little bit of flavor. And remember, by pinching off the top, I'm actually asking the plant to branch out even more. So I've been doing that just a little bit, just to get a little bit wider. It's I don't put any fertilizer in the water, but I do change the water so it doesn't stay stagnant. Kind of fun. Another thing that's kind of fun is when you have succulents. Succulents were all the rage this year, and a lot of people have them. So this is a little jade plant, and they were pinched off to the top so that they would be small here. And notice how by pinching off the top, all these new little teeny leaves are starting up. Well, the other thing that happened is one of the leaves were actually pinched off and put into this pot. And you see where that leaf was right there. And where that leaf was, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 new plants. Now this little leaf right here, oh no, that is attached. Oh, that's so cool. Sorry about that. I thought that wasn't attached. So this is another easy way to go ahead and get new plants growing. So this coming spring, I can go ahead and put this in a larger pot or just in a really bright sunny area with really, really good drainage, and just let them grow and have a good time. So this time of year, you can do all this stuff and have a lot of fun. Well, the neatest thing I think about gardening indoors is working with plants that actually do bloom a lot, consistently. And that's what I always go back to, these African violets, because every year they just make me smile. This little guy right here, he's got the darkest red flower. It's just so cool. I always get the African violets that will have a little bit of color even when the plant is not in bloom. Like this one has a lot of white with it. But sometimes the new leaves come out dark green, but then when this starts to bloom, I don't care what the leaves look like. I just love that flower. It's such a happy little guy. So this one over here has got a lot of white also. But I wanted to show you how sometimes these guys will actually start to bend toward the light, which is why it's so important to turn them. Now this guy I have been consistently turning, and he isn't as focused on leaning to one direction or not, but this one definitely has. And what that does is it makes it eventually a little bit unstable. So it would be maybe a good idea eventually to start taking leaf cuttings, putting them in soil and getting them to grow, and then eventually saying goodbye to this guy. can't do that yet. Have you guys got plants like that you can't say goodbye to? Yeah, that's how I am. So this one I really like. This sky, I think, was the first one I bought that was green and white. It had the ruffled leaves, which I think is a nice touch. They're always fuzzy. The best way to go ahead and deal with these leaves is to get a very soft paintbrush and just brush them off with a paintbrush. Makes it easy. There's always going to be some parts of the plant, like this right here, where this is an old dead leaf and old dead flowers. You can go ahead and pull them off or just snip them off with a pair of scissors. But notice how this guy is starting to bloom again. Sometimes they hide underneath the foliage like this one is doing. But I love the color of the flower. It's pink and white. It's kind of like a little picotee edge, a little bit of green. And it's, like I said, it just makes me smile. And this one is really nice too. Again, green and white. You can see I have this little thing going on. Leaves start out dark, dark green, and then as they mature, they go ahead and bleed out a little bit. But this one has a really pretty blue flower. Let me see, he's kind of shy. Let's see if I can get him to turn around a little bit. There he is. And I love having the pollen in the center, which is a bright, bright yellow, against that really dark, dark blue. So that's really pretty. So like I said, they just make me smile. I'm really glad that I have them. Easy to grow. These are probably the easiest things in the world to grow because they don't need a lot of light. They like to be in a bright but indirect sunlight. So I can put these on a counter or on a chest, and be careful when I water them so I don't get the water on the surface of the chest, of course. But they just need to be watered once a week. It's best to use lukewarm water. So you can either go ahead and just add a little hot, a little cold, or just fill it up your jug with water and let it sit until it becomes room temperature. And then just go ahead and give it a little bit of water. Again, time it for about 10-15 minutes and take the pot out and then just drain it out if it needs to. And then they're fine. I know a lot of people say that they have to be fertilized. I like to go ahead and start fertilizing them a little bit in the fall because they do most of their blooming in the winter time as opposed to the summer. So sometimes I'll go ahead and use a little bit of fertilizer, maybe once a month. When I say a little bit, I'll go ahead and read the directions. And if the directions say use like a teaspoon per gallon, I'll use a 1/4 teaspoon per gallon, just a little bit, because I don't want a lot of lush growth. I just want to keep it all very healthy. And as you see, they all look pretty healthy and they're pretty happy, and they make me happy. So I hope you guys have enjoyed seeing all my indoor house plants that I just love taking care of. And like I said, when I say taking care of, just a little bit of care, because like everybody else, I've got a lot of other things to do. And it's fun to have something that's going to make you smile when you take a look at it. Thanks for joining me on Delmarva Gardens, right here on Pack 14.